The story begins with Mason and Amelia, a wealthy couple traveling on their private jet to attend a grand party. The night is full of luxury and glamour, and among all the guests they find Perez, the richest man at the party and the organizer of the event. While conversing, Mason mentions that he is passionate about cars and owns an extensive collection. Perez, who also loves automobiles, gets excited and invites them to visit his private garage. There, Perez proudly displays his most valuable car, worth nearly $200 million. It is a truly impressive collection. Is it real? Mason and Amelia, marveling at its beauty, ask if they can sit inside the car. Perez accepts with delight, but at that moment, Amelia secretly signals a hacker named Link. Suddenly, the lights go out, and Mason's men attack Perez, knocking him to the ground. Mason quickly starts the car and flees the scene. It is then revealed that Mason and Amelia are not just guests at the party. They are professional thieves, and their true plan was to steal that automobile. They load the car into a huge truck and try to flee the country, but just before they succeed, FBI agents appear, and the chase begins. Mason is in shock, wondering how the FBI knew about his plan. The answer comes when Amelia suddenly points a gun at him. The truth comes to light. Amelia was never his accomplice in the crime. She is actually an undercover FBI agent who pretended to love him just to catch him. The first bullet doesn't leave the gun. It pierces the ego. How do you negotiate with someone who knows your deepest flaws? Mason's heart breaks because, unlike her, he really loved her. Despite this betrayal, Mason feels calm and activates Plan B. His men drive all their cars directly into the river, creating confusion that allows them to escape, although they lose the stolen car. 3 months later, Mason is seen living quietly on the outskirts of the city, having left his criminal life behind, at least for now. One day, Mason's younger brother Sin comes to visit him. He talks to him about a bank he plans to rob and asks him to participate, but Mason refuses, saying he is retired from crime and doesn't want to face new problems. Sin tries to convince him with all his might, but faced with his refusal, he leaves. Before going, he hands a phone to Mason, telling him that if he ever changes his mind, he can call him and join the plan. 3 days passed, and Mason's answer remained the same. He wasn't interested in the robbery. However, on the day of the heist, Mason suddenly receives a call from Link, asking why he wasn't there for the mission. Mason is surprised, as he had rejected participating. The truth is that Sin lied to his team, saying that Mason was already part of the plan. Meanwhile, Sin waits in a coffee shop across from the bank, prepared. Every day the bank manager passes by there for his morning coffee, and he is ready to act. As soon as the manager enters, Sin pulls out a gun, takes him hostage and says, "We know each other. I'm going to need your finger. No, that one, the thumb. I'm waiting for the opportunity. I'm going to need your help to rob it." Then, with the gun in hand, he begins to push the manager toward the bank. But before entering, Mason arrives and stops them. Mason warns Sin that the plan is too dangerous, and they could both get killed. But Sin insists that it is already too late to stop, because the rest of his gang is already inside. When Mason enters the bank, he sees that Sin's group has mingled among the customers in disguise. Sin drags the manager to a corner and demands he open the security door, but instead of helping, the manager secretly activates an alarm. In seconds, the bank fills with panic. Sirens sound, and the guards open fire on the robbers, provoking total chaos. The fight is short-lived. Mason's gang easily overpowers the guards and takes hostages inside. Finally, Sin reveals that he is after a locker belonging to a woman named Isabel Farrell. Inside, there is supposedly a hard drive containing millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. Mason takes the bank manager to the vault and demands he open the locker. But there is a problem. The drawer requires 2 keys, one held by the manager and another held by Isabel. Without both keys, the vault remains closed. Sin does not have the second key, meaning his plan is already at risk. Mason becomes furious at his brother's negligence, but with no other choice, he orders Link to hack the system. Link manages to open the vault in minutes, but upon retrieving the contents, they find only a fake box. The manager smiles maliciously and tells Mason that not even he knows where the real boxes are. Mason's anger increases, and he reprimands Sin for getting into such a reckless mission. Meanwhile, outside the bank, now surrounded by a full tactical team, the FBI is ready. The officer in charge of the operation is none other than Amelia, Mason's ex-lover and the very agent who betrayed him months ago. She quickly contacts the team inside. Link tries to delay her with witty words, but Amelia is not fooled. She demands to speak directly with Mason. When Link relays the message, Mason freezes upon hearing her. Memories of his past invade him again, and for a moment, the ruthless thief feels the pain of an old romantic breakup. Mason reminds himself that Amelia is no longer his lover but his enemy, and that her only goal now is to capture his team. Controlling his emotions, he begins to negotiate. Mason asks the FBI to pull their forces back 50 feet from the bank, or he will start killing hostages one by one. Additionally, he requests pizza and beer for his team, and that Amelia herself brings the food. Amelia accepts, but in exchange, she demands the release of 2 hostages. Mason agrees without hesitation. Shortly after, all the hostages are moved to an upper room, and Mason's gang prepares for Amelia's arrival. She enters the bank with boxes of food and drinks. Mason welcomes her warmly, still harboring feelings for her, but Amelia ignores him. Instead, she asks him to surrender. Mason refuses and sends her back outside. Then he feeds his men, fulfills his part of the deal, and releases 2 hostages. But suddenly, something unexpected happens. The bank manager attacks one of Mason's guards, takes his gun, and escapes. Mason goes after him in a tense chase. He finally manages to catch him and demands he reveal the truth about Isabel. The manager confesses that Isabel Farrell is the wife of Avil, the most dangerous gangster in the country. Avil is not only powerful, but also has the backing of influential politicians. The manager explains that the missing hard drive likely contains evidence of the politician's crimes. If revealed, the entire government could fall. Mason, however, decides to continue the search for the hard drive, seeing it as an opportunity to blackmail the government and get out of the bank. Then a black car arrives with Avil, carrying Alex, his lawyer, inside. Avil orders Amelia that if they fail to capture the thieves within an hour, the United States Army will invade the bank. Confused by the sudden authority, Amelia consults her supervisor, who reveals that Alex is actually Avil's lawyer, and that due to his political backing, the FBI cannot intervene further. The priority is to get the thieves out of the bank quickly, because if the army enters, both the criminals and the innocent hostages could end up dead. Inside, Mason and his team begin demolishing walls, looking for a supposed secret chamber where Isabel's vault would be. But every time they break a wall, another barrier appears preventing advance. Outside, the U.S. Army already surrounds the building and prepares to enter. Faced with this situation, Amelia urgently calls Mason and begs him to surrender, reminding him that if the military enters, his life will be in danger. But Mason has another plan. He asks her to leak to the media that the army is about to attack in order to buy time. Mason knows that with media coverage, the military will be less free to act. Amelia takes the risk and complies, spreading the information. Within minutes, the news spreads across the country, and the media congregates near the bank. Angered, the FBI chief immediately removes Amelia from the case. He then calls Mason directly, threatening that if his team does not surrender in 15 minutes, the army will enter. Inside, finally, Mason and his team locate the hidden chamber where Isabel's locker is supposedly kept. Mason orders Link to hack it again, but she warns that the protection is very strong and will take at least 10 minutes. The army plans to enter in just 8. Quick to react, Mason decides to release all the hostages rapidly, one by one, to buy time. As they release them, the tension outside grows. Finally, they also release the manager and the hostages. With no one left, Mason's men begin to surrender, walking out with their hands up. Only Mason and Link remain inside the bank. The FBI chief, furious, gives the order to shoot Mason on sight. The soldiers enter and search every corner. When they reach the vault room, Mason waits for them with a bomb in his hand. Before they can react, a powerful detonation shakes the bank, killing the soldiers. And Mason also dies in the explosion. His story ends in tragedy, ruined by the recklessness of his brother's sin. But if you think it ends there, get ready, because the real surprise is yet to come. Months after the incident, Amelia resigns from the FBI. She no longer wants to keep working for a corrupt system. To clear her mind, she travels to a private island to enjoy a vacation. But contrary to what everyone expected, Mason was already waiting for her there. It is at that moment that the truth is revealed. From the beginning, Mason and Amelia had been working together. Love or alliance. In both cases, trust is the currency, and betrayal is the compound interest. The failed theft of Perez's car was nothing more than a setup designed to make the FBI believe that Amelia was loyal to them. The story goes back to the day of the call about the supposed explosion. When the army entered the bank, Mason demanded to meet with Avil's lawyer, Alex. Although the FBI resisted at first, given the evidence, they had no choice. When Alex arrived, Mason threatened him. He demanded a transfer of $500 million to his account and the creation of new identities for him and his team to start a new life. Avil's empire, with all its power and backup mechanisms, accepted. What the world saw as a deadly explosion was actually a simulation, a fake detonation designed to fool everyone and make them believe Mason had died. In reality, Mason and his team escaped unharmed, and now Mason and Amelia leave behind their lives of crime and undercover work, beginning a new existence with renewed identities. Cunning can fool everyone except the consequences. In a game where trust is currency and betrayal is interest, control always overcharges.